Welcome back to IGN Live at Comic-Con, brought to you by the all-new LG G4. I'm Max Scoville. Joining me, Brian Altano and Chris from 2K. You're the producer on Battleborn. That's a game that I have a lot of questions about. I'm sure you guys watching at home have plenty of questions too. If you want to jump on Twitter, we're IGN on there. It's pretty simple. It's 3 letters. You type them in, and you can use the hashtag IGN Live, and we'll be able to track your tweets and ask important questions like, what's up with Battleborn?
What's up with Battleborn?
That's a terrible question. I'm sorry.
That's a great question. So Battleborn is the next new big IP from Gearbox Software. Same team that brought you Borderlands. What's really cool about Battleborn is that it's got a huge cast of playable characters. So we've got 25 playable characters, whereas Borderlands, I think we wound up with 6 at the end. So this is a huge cast. They've all got their own unique play styles, their own personalities, their own abilities and weapons, and the whole premise around the story is that these 25 playable characters, these Battleborn, they're fighting to save the very last star in the entire universe from being destroyed.
That star's name is Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes, yes. How'd you know?
She's in peril.
Now, the big comparison here, a lot of people have kind of said this, in the same way that kind of Borderlands took like the sort of dungeon crawly, like loot fest type you'd have from like a a game like Diablo or something, and made it a first-person shooter. This is kind of taking a MOBA-centric model and kind of applying that. Am I getting that right at all?
Well, it's interesting because we started off when we first came out and we first announced with a mode that was very MOBA-centric. It was the most inspired mode that we have, inspired by a MOBA. The game is actually more of just a first-person shooter with a ton of different inspirations and ideas around that. So Gearbox has always been great about, like you said, smashing those different genres together. So for the most part, like that particular mode we saw before, it's all about defending a base and having these AI-controlled minions make their way down the map and destroy sentries along the way. We also have 2 other competitive modes where one is more of a capture and hold style mode, where that's something more familiar that most shooter players have played. And then there's another mode that's a little bit kind of a mix between those 2. And then we have a huge story mode, which really I think sets the game apart and takes it away from that idea of being a MOBA.
Yeah, and MOBAs aren't really known for having stories.
Exactly.
So how did you guys land on 25 characters? Was that sort of like a war of escalation in the office, or did you start with 5 and all of a sudden you're like, we don't know how to stop?
Well, their process for creating these characters is pretty amazing. They originally wanted to just have this huge cast. Like that was the goal. Like basically dumping out a toy chest and having all these cool characters. What they did is they opened up the pitch process to the entire company. They even offered it over to 2K. So everyone from a QA guy to an artist to an engineer could be creating these cool, interesting characters. And then the ones that floated to the top and that were the most interesting were the ones that actually went through full production. And honestly, that's like how we finally got to the 25.
Who sent you the worst idea?
That's a good question. It was probably one of mine.
You can snitch. You can call him out right
Borderlands Kart Racer. It's going to be a hit.
There was pretty much everything you can imagine, from stick figures to...
I want a 60-foot-tall wolf.
Yeah, like maids with with a vacuum cleaner.
With a deadly vacuum?
Yeah, deadly vacuum cleaners. Like there was everything you can imagine.
Man, people are going to really want these things.
So we actually have a question from Twitter if you want to check that out. It takes a minute every time we do this. It's always a little bit weird. All right, Chris says, what's your favorite character to play and why?
My favorite character to play is Orindi. She's this 4-armed chaos witch. So you're basically...
Don't call her that.
She is a total witch. She's also actually voiced by the same actress that did Tiny Tina.
Oh, cool.
That's
Ashley Birch, right?
Yep.
Cool.
So the VO for her is hilarious, but she does tons of damage. She has lots of mobility. She's always like throwing these like crazy fireballs and like these huge like pillars of dark energy. She's a blast.
What's her personality like? You don't put Ashley Birch if it's just going to be like
insane.
Cover me.
Yeah. No, she's definitely like takes that Tiny Tina sort of personality and amps it up.
Okay. I mean, you guys are known for doing like a very kind of like clearly very colorful universe. Like Borderlands is very, very silly and weird. Would you say this is kind of on the same level as that, or is it more serious, or is it? I mean, what's it like tonally?
The tone of the story is definitely serious. I mean, being at the end of the universe and having there be no stars left in the universe, and this one last bastion of hope for all the civilizations to be rallying around. So that premise is pretty dark, but we don't really want to take ourselves too seriously while we're telling the story. So you're going to get a lot of that Gearbox humor that you got from Borderlands. Like that stuff comes out, especially with the each of the characters. They're all, like I said, all their personalities are crazy and different. So you're going to get a ton of that like really funny, like really like cool banter that you got from Borderlands.
I would be legitimately upset if you were like, no, it's a totally serious game. It's an ancient evil has awoken, and it's up to you to stop it.
It's a drama where everything's neon.
Exactly.
That'd be really weird, actually. So I mean, this is you got the different modes and you got the story mode. How do they kind of integrate there? I mean,
well,
kind of,
so the
linear.
Well, it's not. It's actually so the story mode's actually not linear. It's so the like what we're showing today, or what we're showing at Comic-Con over at the at Petco Park, is basically it's one half of a mission. So you'll have these pretty long missions, which you can pick any of the characters that you want to play through the missions. And each mission there'll be a bunch of those, and over time, like over playing all of those missions, you'll get an overarching story. Like the narrative will play out through all of them. That's how the story mode is structured. All the multiplayer, all the competitive multiplayer modes, those are just going to be 5-on-5. You know, you get in, you match make like a normal competitive multiplayer game.
How many different areas are we looking at? Also, just like the kind of overall scale of the game, because I think Borderlands is pretty. The scale's
pretty huge. We're not. We're only showing right now one of the story modes. We have obviously there's a ton more of those to come. We will be showing multiplayer coming up soon, but right now we're just showing this particular map and environment.
Okay. Well, is there going to be there is like head-to-head multiplayer? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's 5v5. So it's you're gonna have your own team. You can play co-op. You can play it split screen with a buddy there on your couch, and you'll be always going up against another 5 players. I'm
going to follow up that sort of stock question with a worse one, which is who's the mushroom?
Who's the mushroom?
What is his name?
Tell us about the mushroom.
Oh, it's more its name. Okay. So that was actually a debate we had in the studio for a long time.
Gender a fungus?
Exactly. So its name is Miko. Okay. And Miko is actually one of our support characters. Whether you want to call her he or she, she has healing. She can take off her head and throw it on the ground, and then it'll open up this big array. What's like an area of effect healing spell. So she's actually really good to have on your team, because especially if you're a character like Orendi running around who's pretty squishy, she can be behind you, healing you, keeping you alive. So
how do you balance something like this? Because there's so many peaks and valleys in terms of the character classes and their attributes and stuff. That seems like just a lot of testing.
It's incredibly difficult. We definitely do a lot of testing. Gearbox and 2K, we bring in tons of external focus testers. We have people playing the game weekly, daily in a lot of cases. So we're getting constant feedback. Gearbox and 2K, we try to do a daily play test where everybody in the studio just like takes an hour out of the day, jumps in the game. And we all give feedback, constantly. So whenever, some days it'll be like, wow, Miko's totally overpowered, or I can't do any damage with Miko at all. So that stuff will get tweaked literally within hours, and then we'll play the difference the next day. So.
When is this being released for the whole world to play?
It's going to come out this winter on PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Appreciate it.
We are going to be talking about all kinds of stuff here. Probably less mushrooms in the next videos, but stay tuned.
Maybe.